Hello guys, this is your friend Dark Fox 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto and Temari's forced marriage unleashed the hidden desires of Konoha's strongest Kunoichi. Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Was a little over a week since the end of the Fourth Shinobi War, which had lasted several weeks, and things were beginning to return to normal in the Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves. It was very fortunate that while there had been casualties, they were relatively small in comparison to the Third Shinobi War, and this was due almost entirely to the efforts of Naruto Uzumaki. Even though Kabuto had been defeated, Madara Uchiha had once again escaped, though with his massive injuries. Thanks to Naruto and Temari's deadly wind combo attacks, most didn't think he would survive for long, and if he did, he would be powerless. Most of the allied ninja had returned to their respected villages, with the exception of those from Suna, the village hidden in the sand. Gaara, Kankuro and Temari in particular had wanted to stay and visit their friends for a while. It was currently the early hours of morning, around 7 a.m., and Gaara was mediating as usual, anticipating his chance to visit the person he considered not only his first friend, but his best friend as well, Naruto. With all that had happened over the years, there hadn't been much time to spend time with him, like he had wished, what with the Akatsuki, him becoming Kazekage, Naruto training with the late Jiraiya, and of course, the recent war. The fifth Hokage, Tsunade of the Senju, was sitting in her chair, glaring at the mountains of paperwork that sat on her desk, and in more stacks, on the floor. Maybe if I stare at it long enough I can catch it on fire, and I can say it was lost due to reason beyond my control, like any kind of good luck like that would happen, she thought to herself, sighing. I might as well get started, Tsunade said out loud. The sooner I do, the sooner I can take a sake break. As long as Shizune isn't around to see my access my secret sake stash, that is. She picked up a random paper from a stack in front of her and looked at the date on the top of it. This is from when the freak job Danzo was in charge, during my time in the coma, she thought as she began to read the memo. Let's see, a request for a political marriage between a ninja of the leaf and a ninja of the sand after the leaf village is rebuilt enough from the attack by pain. Certainly a strange request, Tsunade said looking at it. Wait, it already approved by the council and Danzo, when he was acting Hokage. Who was it for? What? Shizune? Get in here, now. Not a moment later, Shizune burst in the door, dropping folders all over the place. Lady Tsunade, I'm here, what's wrong? This, read it, Tsunade said, gripping the edge of her desk so hard it was cracking into pieces. Shizune took the now partially wrinkled paper and looked it over, before looking up at Tsunade. Danzo approved this. Why? Shizune asked, wide-eyed. Can you override it? No, I can't, damn it. Tsunade said, breaking off the corner of desk she was still gripping hard. What I want to know now is, why would Gaara approve of this? Maybe he didn't, maybe the Sand Village Council did while he was at the Cage Summit, Shizune said, dropping the paper onto the desk. Which means, he can't change it any more than we can, right? Damn it. I can't believe those stupid, pig-headed assholes in the council did this kind of crap. Tsunade yelled, slamming her fist into the desk leaving a large indent in its surface. There's no way out of this, Anbu Crow. Go tell Naruto I need to see him. I need to explain this bullshit to him. The Anbu nodded before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. You have every right to be mad, but you should try to watch your language, Lady Tsunade, Shizune said, picking up the folders she had dropped a few minutes ago. You need to think about how this is going to affect poor Naruto, that's your top priority. Yes, I know, you're right, as usual. Tsunade said, taking a deep breath. Bring me some herbal tea will you? I need to calm down, in fact while you do that. Anbu Ox, go grab 5 bowls of ramen from Ichiraku Ramen. Naruto going to need to calm when he hears this as well. Something tells me, this is going to be a long day for everyone. Especially poor Naruto, said the Anbu, before she too, disappeared. Speaking of Naruto, he was currently walking up, or rather running up the stairs of the Hokage Tower, to see what Tsunade had wanted him for. Though he was in a more or less good mood now, he wasn't entirely happy with his wake-up message, where he had been woken out of a half-asleep state as he was eating breakfast by an Anbu. He had ending up spilling some of his cereal, which the Anbu had snickered about, until Naruto had grabbed a handful of the wet cereal of the floor and hit the Anbu square in the face with it. The now irritated Anbu then quickly gave Naruto the message about the Hokage wanting to see him ASAP, and just as quickly left, grumbling. Naruto then grabbed his toast and got dressed, eating as he did, before jumping out his window and bounding across the rooftops towards the tower. As usual, when Naruto arrived at the door to Tsunade's office, he didn't bother to knock and simply kicked open the door. "Hey, I'm here, Grandma Tsunade, what's up?" he said, walking in. "It's about time you showed up. Brat, have a seat, I got you some ramen, for a special treat, so be grateful," Tsunade said, sipping her tea. "Go ahead, it's not poisoned, it's from that Ichiraku ramen stand you like so damn much. Free ramen? You are my favorite person in the world, Grandma," he said, jumping into the chair, grabbing the first bowl and slurping away. "By the way, was this all you wanted?" "No, but go ahead and eat first. We'll talk about the important thing after you're done," Tsunade said, finishing her tea. "Just hurry, it's quite important, you know." "It is?" Naruto asked, noodles hanging out his mouth. "What is it? Maybe I should eat later." "You're actually turning down ramen. Are you feeling sick or something?" Tsunade asked, in disbelief. Naruto put down his now empty bowl and looked at her. "We all know ramen is like the king of all foods in the world. But even I know that there are some things more important than ramen." Tsunade smiled and thought, "Naruto, you really are growing up. I'm positive that if Kushina and Minato were still alive, they'd be as proud of you as I am, okay? But I warn you, this is not something I'm happy about, as my now broken desk can contest to," Tsunade said, gesturing to the dents, cracks in the broken corner on her desk. "Now, apparently while I was out of commission and that nutbag, Danzo was in charge, an agreement was made between the Sand and Leaf villages. A marriage agreement, to be exact. A marriage agreement? Who the ones they're forcing to marry, and why would Gaara agree to this kind of thing?" Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. "I don't think he would make this kind of agreement. Well, me and Shizune think it was made by the Suna Council, during the Cage Summit, before Gaara returned to his village." Tsunade replied, resting her chin on her folding hands in front of her. In any case, this agreement was somewhat forgotten due to the recent war, but now that things are winding down, it will have to be implemented. Furthermore, we only know of the groom who has been chosen from our village, we're not sure who the bride from not the Sand village will be, yet. Who's the guy?" Naruto asked, suddenly nervous. "Anyone I know." Tsunade took a deep breath and closed her eyes before saying, "Yes you do, they want the groom from the Leaf village to be an individual who was the hero of both the Pain Incident and the Fourth Shinobi War. They want you, Naruto." She didn't hear a response and opened one eye to look at Naruto, and watched him stand up, with a neutral expression on his face. "I'll be back in a second, Grandma." Tsunade watched as Naruto walked over to the window and climbed out, heading up to the roof. It was silent for a minute, then she heard him yell out at the top of his lungs, "Son of a bitch, what the hell?" Shizune came walking into Tsunade's office and saw Tsunade banging her head on the desk. She also heard Naruto shouting out all kinds of nonsense from the roof. "I take Naruto knows the bad news," Shizune asked, sadly. "Isn't there anything we can do for him?" "Not in terms of stopping the marriage, however there are some ways to work this to Naruto's advantage," Tsunade said, picking her head off of her desk. "Does matter, I'm not doing it, Grandma. Naruto said, sitting on the windowsill, with his arms crossed. There's no way I'm marring anyone right now, so there. Naruto, stop acting like a baby. It's not like I want this for you, any more than you do, and if you refuse there could be serious consequences for you in our village, Tsunade said, shaking her. Now, as I just said, I'm not about to let you do this without the two councils agreeing to some things that will help you out, and give you what you deserve. What I deserve? What kind of advantages are we talking about here, Grandma Tsunade? Asked Naruto, standing up with his arms now at his side. Not that I agree to this or anything, but they better be really good. There's no way out of this, Naruto. Believe me, I thought of every loophole I think of, and nothing could stop this. Tsunade said, solemnly. Now as for the things I can do for you. First I'll require 2 witnesses. Shizune, go fetch either Sakura or Ino from the clinic for me. Right, Shizune replied, opening the door and walking out. Not a moment had passed, however, when she reappeared in the doorway, with Sakura. Turns out Sakura was on her way to receive her daily routines from you. I met her in the hallway here. Good. Saves you a trip and us time. Sakura stepped forward with Shizune and closed the door, while you're at it. Tsunade said, standing up. First, I need to activate a privacy seal. But before I do this, Naruto, I need your permission to reveal your parentage to Sakura, and soon after, everyone else in the village, Tsunade said, looking at Naruto seriously. Can I? Naruto thought for a moment before nodding to her. Yeah, I guess. I trust Sakura here 100%, as for the rest of the villagers. It was bound to get out eventually anyway. I guess they'll have to get used to it. She smiled, nodded and activated the seal before reaching into a drawer in her desk and pulling out a folded-up jacket. Here, take this, Naruto, but don't unfold it yet, Tsunade said, to him. Now on this day, in the autumn of this year, I, Tsunade of the Senju, and the Sannin, the 5th Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves, hereby promote Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze to the rank of Special Jonin. Congratulations. No one spoke for a moment, and everyone was bug-eyed. Finally, Sakura said, Namikaze. As in the 4th Hokage, that's Naruto's father. Naruto did his usual neck rub, with a smile in response. Yeah, well, that's right. And his mom was Kushina Uzumaki, better known to some as the Red Hot Habanero, due to her temper and red hair. Tsunade said, grinning. Now then, even though the council could and would block a normal promotion of Jonin to you, they have no say in me appointing you the title of Special Jonin. What's the difference, Grandma? Naruto asked, confused. Not much, mainly it has to do with the type of training you receive and how you earn the title. Shizune said, pitching in. Jonin is earned by advancing to Chunin first, then taking a Jonin exam. Special Jonin on the other hand is appointed by the Kage of the village, and can be given to a ninja of any rank, including Genin. Oh really? Naruto asked, before jumping and giving Tsunade a bear hug, almost knocking the woman over. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Easy, Naruto, as you like to regularly point out, I'm not young woman anymore. Tsunade said, hugging him back. I'm glad you like it, but that's not the only things you're getting. You'll also receive normal Jonin mission pay. And the rights to your father and mother's wills, including the Namikaze mansion. My parents' house? Naruto asked, pulling away from Tsunade. Is there pictures of them there? Yes, plenty of them. In fact, Sarutobi made sure it would remain untouched by anyone, until you were ready for it, so it has far more of your parents' belongings than just pictures. Tsunade said, smiling. Speaking of which, you can look at and put on that jacket now. Naruto unfolded it and they all looked at it. It was as long, as big and looked a lot like his Toad Sage coat, except it was black with dark orange flames at the bottom, instead of red with black flames. It also had the Japanese characters for Special Jonin sewn in on the back. Wow, you look really handsome in it, Naruto, Sakura said smiling. Congratulations, you earned it. By the way, why is all this stuff happening all of a sudden? Naruto. What's the matter? Naruto just put his head down, so Tsunade explained the arranged marriage thing to her. To say she was angry was a bit of an understatement, and after her own rant, Tsunade's desk was completely destroyed, the victim of two women with monster strength and a Jinchuriki. So we don't even know who this bitch, I mean girl, is? Sakura asked, her fist clenched. No, we haven't received word yet, from the Sand Council. Tsunade said, shaking her head. I just know Gaara isn't going to be any more happy about this than we are. I sent a messenger bird to where he's staying in our village right now, so we should expect a visit from him many time now. Quote. Sure enough, not a minute later, Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro walked in with Gaara opening the door with his sand, keeping his arms crossed. This is unacceptable, Gaara said, in his usual slow deliberate style of taking. I was never informed of this, they went behind back. I am not pleased. You're not the only one, Gaara. Tsunade said, gesturing to Naruto who was sitting, with his arms crossed. She explained when she believed it had been written, and about the recent request of the Suna Council, to activate the contract, and that's the way it seems to be. I sent a speedy message to elders in your village, and requested a response and quickly as possible. At the very least we need to know who they'll be sending. All they said was it was a female Kunoichi of high standings in their village. High standings? Then I think I know who'll they use to marry Naruto, though I'd rather wait for a reply to be sure, Gaara said, opening his eyes, which had been closed. As soon as we receive a reply, we need to meet here again. I'm sorry I can help you get out of this, Naruto. You are my best friend, and I wish I could help in this situation, Gaara said, putting a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto nodded but didn't say anything. Despite the good news of the promotion and getting his mom and dad's stuff, he was still down about the marriage. Temari, who was still extremely grateful to Naruto for him help saving her brother over the years, and who considered him a friend, crouched down in front of Naruto. Don't worry, you can consider me, Gaara and Kankuro your family. And we'll help in any way we can. I promise, Temari said, before wrapping her arms around his shoulders and pulling him into a hug. After a moment, Naruto hugged her back before releasing, and letting her stand up. Thanks, Temari, Naruto said, smiling slightly. Temari smiled back and said, now, enough gloom and doom shit, let's go do something, all of us together. How about we celebrate Naruto's promotion to Jonin? Sakura said, putting a hand on her hip. Promotion? Kankuro asked, surprised. Well, looks like you're moving up in the world, squirt. You know I'm only a year younger than you, makeup boy, Naruto said, grinning, and I'm as tall as you, so there. Who calling makeup boy? Kankuro yelled, before getting whacked in the head by Temari. Shut up, makeup boy, Temari said, crossing her arms. Oh man, not you too, sis. He whined, folding his arms and pouting. Why don't we head over to Naruto's parents' house, and I'll explain things to you three, on the way over. Tsunade said, standing up from her desk. Come on, follow me. The group, which included Naruto, Sakura, Tsunade, Shizune, Gaara, Kankuro and Temari, walked along the street till they reached the upper-class area of the village, which included such clan estates as the Hyuga clans and the now vacant Uchiha estate. Finally they came to a stop at a huge gate with a large symbol on the top of it. It was the spiral symbol of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto, it will only open for a Namakase and a Uzumaki, and since you're of both clans, you need to do it, Tsunade said, putting hand on his shoulder. Simply do as you would for a summoning, except press your blood-covered hand on the door, and say, blood seal release. Naruto did as instructed, and when he did, the gate glowed yellow for a moment before Tsunade stepped forward and said, okay, that means the seal is released and we can go in now. They all walked through the gate and found themselves in a small town that appeared to have several large blocks to it. Holy crap, this place is big. Kankuro said, looking around. How big is this place, and is it all Naruto's now? Yes, it is all his, and as for the size, I understand it is even larger than that of the Hyuga's clan district. Tsunade replied to him. The Uzushiogakure village, where your clan came from, was well respected by the first and second Hokage as well in my clan, the Senju clan in general, which is appropriate, considering our two clans are related to one another distantly as cousins, and marriage. In fact, FYI, not only is your clan related to mine, Naruto, but the founder of the Uchiha was started by the brother of the founder of the Senju clans. You mean you're kind of like my grandmother? And Sasuke was like my cousin or something? Naruto asked, both excited and confused. Does that mean I can call you grandma, and you won't get mad anymore? Tsunade sighed and looked at him. Yes, it does, technically, and yes, you can call me that, but not when we're in public, it makes me feel old. Naruto gave her a big hug. Thanks, grandma, I love you. Tsunade smiled at him and said, I love you too, brat. Now come on, let's get to your house, already. Temari walked ahead of her brother, so she was next to Naruto as they made their way to his house. Finding out you're related to the first, second and fifth Hokage, on top of everything else, must be a lot to take in. Are you alright with this? Naruto looked over at her and smiled. You bet, even though the day stared kind of crappy, I just found out I have real family, Grandma Tsunade here. I've always wondered what it would be like to have a family. Well, I'm glad for you, Naruto, you deserve it, she said, looking ahead as they neared a large mansion. Is this it? Sakura asked, looking at the huge gates that showed a long path of trees leading to a huge mansion. It's insanely big. The path could be seen opening up to a huge area in front of the house with a large pond. Yes it is, Tsunade said, opening the gates. Come on, up the path we go. A few minutes later they arrived and they looked around for a moment. The area outside the house was indeed large and even had a second, smaller mansion to the left and to the right. After a minute they walked around the pond and to the front doors, where Tsunade gave Naruto a yellow and red key to unlock it. He opened the door and they all stepped inside. It was surprisingly in excellent shape, considering its age. Like the outside, the inside was modern yet old-fashioned in its Italianate style, with a large staircase leading to a second floor and doorways on either side of them as they stood in the main entrance of the house. Just how many rooms does this place have? Naruto asked, looked around. And why did mom and dad need such a big place? This estate and town that belongs with it were actually part of the Senju clan during the time of my grandfather and your great-grandfather's reign as the first Hokage. The second Hokage, our uncle, then gave this estate to the Uzumaki clan in his will. Tsunade said, looking at him. And as for the size, I believe there is around 29 bedrooms, a gigantic pool, a large training ground, and a garden, among other things here. That's enormous. What am I supposed to do with a place this huge, even with a wife? Naruto asked bug-eyed. Probably the same thing your mom and dad did, use the main house here, and pretty much ignore the other two houses. Besides, someday the Uzumaki clan made up of your children, grandchildren and maybe even great-grandchildren will inhabit this place, Tsunade said, smiling. Naruto blushed a deep red at the thought of him having children with whoever the woman he was going to marry. Let's worry about one thing at a time, okay? Naruto said, in an embarrassed tone. Of course, now then this is lot to take in, so I suggest we do a little exploring of the house, and then I'll go and grab some dinner together. Tsunade said, facing everyone. We'll come back here tomorrow after we get word from the Suna Council. Does that sound good? Everyone agreed and Naruto and the others looked around the large house somewhat, with Naruto mostly looking at the pictures of his mom and dad. After about an hour they locked up, and left to eat. After dinner at Akamaiki's barbecue restaurant, they all went their separate ways, with Naruto, Temari, Gaara, and Kankuro going and catching up on things. The rest of the day went as normal as usual, and soon night came and went with the same group as yesterday, being called to Tsunade's office early the next morning. "Glad you're here now," Tsunade said, looking at everyone over the top of her desk. "I received word from the Sand Village Council. And it's hard to believe their choice, though I certainly approve, and I think Naruto will as well. Gaara, come over here and look at the reply, tell me what you think." Gaara raised an eyebrow before doing as asked. He looked down at and then up at Temari before looking over at Tsunade. He gave a tiny smile and said, "I approve of this choice." "Well, who is it?" Naruto said, impatiently. "I want to know already." "Very well, then I have just one thing to say," Tsunade said, standing up and walking around to the front of her desk, where she reached out and took Temari's hand. "Congratulations, Mrs. Namikaze." No one spoke and just stared, except Tsunade and Gaara, who smiled, and Temari and Naruto, who both looked blank at the announcement. After waiting for what seemed like forever, Tsunade looked at Temari and Naruto and spoke up. "Well, are you two going to say something or not?" That is, Temari managed to sputter out, while sitting down in a chair, eyes still wide. "I'm not sure what to say. I consider Naruto a friend and a good guy, but beyond what I've seen and heard about him, mostly from Gaara and Shikamaru, I really don't know a lot about you, Naruto. I certainly never though about a romantic relationship with you either." "Yeah, same here. You're a really great girl. No, woman, but I really don't know much about you either, Temari," Naruto said, sitting next to her. "Well, getting to know one another is something you should do now," Tsunade said, "and don't worry, the wedding isn't for about a month and a half, so you have plenty of time. Why don't you go to check out your house some more together, just the two of you, find out some things about each other while you're at it?" "Well, I guess I wouldn't mind that," Naruto said, thinking, before looking over at Temari and blushing, for some reason he didn't know. "As long as you're okay with it, that is, Temari." She looked over at him and wasn't sure what to feel about it, especially when she saw his blush slightly. I guess I wouldn't mind that either, Naruto," Temari said, somewhat nervously. "I'm ready to go when you are." Naruto helped to her feet and they walked over to the door. "By the way, Temari, your personal stuff was apparently sent as soon as they received my letter, and Naruto, I sent some trustworthy ninjas, including Iruka Yumino, over to your apartment and had them deliver your stuff as well. I'm sure it's there by now," Tsunade said to them before ushering them out the door and off to the Uzumaki estate. "I think things will turn out okay for them. What do you think, Gaara?" Tsunade asked, sitting back down. "I agree with you. This will be good for the both of them, I believe," Gaara said, still standing. "Me and Kankuro will return to our hotel for now and make our way home tomorrow after saying goodbye to our sister. Farewell for now, Tsunade, Shizune and Sakura." "All right then, I'll see you later, Gaara, Kankuro," she replied, to them as they left. "Why don't you return to the hospital and start your shift, Sakura?" "Yes, Lady Tsunade," Sakura said, walking to the door. "You know, I'm glad Naruto has found both some family and maybe even love, cause if anyone deserves it, it's him." "I couldn't agree more," Tsunade said, smiling to her as she walked out the door and left. "And I hope he truly is happy, that little knucklehead." Elsewhere, in Dark Cave, Sasuke Uchiha was sitting down thinking about all that had happened recently. He looked over at his guest, for a lack of a better word. The situation was reversed from when he met the man the first time. Back then it was after he had killed Itachi and had been saved and had his wound treated by the man. "I can't believe how strong that loser Naruto is getting either," he said in frustration. "Every time I get a little stronger, he goes and gets even more powerful. It's not fair, damn it." "Patience, Sasuke," said the man, apparently awake now. You'll soon have your vengeance and so will I. We just need a bit of time. Time? That's the only thing we do have right now, old man. Saskia said, growling. But you're right, we will have our revenge soon enough. On both Naruto and the Hidden Leaf Village, won't we? Madara. In due time, yes, but for now, I must rest. And you must train. Madara said, flashing his Rinnegan and Sharingan eyes. Those things aren't going anywhere, and soon they will all know the wrath of the Uchiha clan. Temari and Naruto walked up the path to his, soon-to-be-there, house. Sure enough, as Tsunade had said, Temari's stuff was in front of the front door. This is all your stuff? Naruto asked, confused. It's just a bunch of scrolls, where's your clothes, and pictures and stuff like that? Storage scrolls, but you should know that already, don't you? Temari asked, looking over at him. Wait, you don't have any idea what a storage scroll is, do you? No sorry, I think I might have heard of one before, but I never bothered asking what it was, Naruto said, embarrassed. How's it work? It's simple, you draw out the right symbols, usually for what's inside, and use the appropriate amount of chakra to place an item or items into the scroll and then again to release them. Temari said, as she picked up a couple of scrolls and walked inside. It's hard to believe you don't know about this type of thing. I was taught by Baki-sensei about a week after I graduated from the Ninja Academy in the Suna. What has Kakashi Hatake been teaching you all these years? To be honest, outside of walking on trees, and assisting in helping me figure out my chakra element and develop my use of it, after I came back from training for 3 years. Nothing, Naruto said, looking down at the ground. I guess because he ignored me and Sakura so he could focus on Sasuke Uchiha. I see. Sound like a pathetic sensei. Anyway, how much do you know about using wind chakra? Temari asked, putting down the scrolls for a moment. I know from personal experience that you can use that wind-style energy ball thing in the shape of a giant shuriken. But what other wind techniques do you know? Naruto though for a moment and rubbed his chin before answering while smiling in a cheesy manner. None. Temari groaned and smacked him in the back on the head. Hey, what did you do that for? He cried out, rubbing his head. Only knowing one elemental move after all this time is kind of pathetic, it's not something to be proud of, Temari said, giving him a look of irritation. Looks like we're going to have to change this, huh? We are. Naruto asked looking up. How? Don't act stupid, cause I know you're not. We're going to have training sessions, moron, Temari said, picking up the bundle of scrolls off the floor. As soon as you help me put some of my stuff away, I'm going play teacher and show you the grade school storage scroll technique later. We'll have to work on your wind chakra. Now let's get moving. Yes ma'am, he replied, picking up the rest of the scrolls and wailing in behind her. By the way, I had some shadow clones come here beforehand and map out this house, I can tell. Bedrooms as in separate? Temari asked, carefully. Well, yeah, I mean even though we're going to be married, I figured you want a separate room to yourself. I mean I'm kind of used to being on my own and suddenly living in the same room is kind of weird. Naruto said, as they climbed up the stairs and down the hall to the right. I bet it's the same for you, huh? Sort of. Though I am used to having my own bedroom, I lived together in the Cage mansion with Gaara and Kankuro my whole life. Even if me and Kankuro were scared of Gaara most of our life. Temari said, as they came to a door that had a piece of paper with her name written sloppily on it. So this is my room, where's yours at? He pointed to the opposite side of the staircase and said. First door on the right after the staircase. Oh, and we both have our own bathrooms so we don't have to worry about one walking in on each other. Well, it's nice to see you aren't a pervert like both of your senseis have been. Temari said, grinning. At least I hope you're not. Hey, I'm nothing like Jiraiya or Kakashi. Naruto said, his cheeks red. I would never do anything weird, believe it. She grinned and lightly tapped his cheek. You're way too easy. Relax, You leave your emotions on the surface, so I think I would know if you were a pervert. Now then, I've already explained the way to use a storage scroll, so how about a few demonstrations? She asked, putting the bundle of scrolls on her bed. Like I said, channel your chakra into the scrolls and the items will release. Watch me unseal one, then you try with this one. They've got my spare supply of shuriken and kunai in them. Okay, I'm ready, Temari, Naruto said, eagerly. Temari spread out the scroll on the bed and channeled chakra into her hand before, sliding it across the scroll's inked symbols. A small pile of kunai appeared in a puff of smoke. Alright, your turn, Naruto. He nodded and tried to channel chakra into his hand. His hand glowed blue and he spread it across his scroll. But the shuriken didn't appear, so he poured more chakra into it, and still nothing. He got frustrated and kept pouring more and more of his chakra into the scroll until it glowed blue. Temari looked over to see if he had got it, and saw the blue glowing scroll. What the hell did you do? It shouldn't be glowing. Well, it wouldn't work, so I thought more chakra would do the trick, Naruto said, sheepishly. What happens with it glowing blue like this? I don't know, I've never even heard of something like this happening, Temari said, nervously. Throw it out of the room, before it explodes or something. Right, Naruto replied, grabbing the scroll, which started to shake. Ah, I think it is going to explode. Not knowing what else to do, he threw it out the window, and slammed it shut. Naruto and Temari jumped to the other side of the bed, and she put up her open battle fan, as a shield for them. After a minute or so passed, they heard a small pop sound and several shuriken broke through the window, and tore some holes through her fan. Temari stared in horror at her damaged fan and clenched her fist. My battle fan, my favorite battle fan, she said, grinding teeth so hard sparks flew. Naruto. Having been on the receiving end of a furious female before, he knew the drill, and raced out the bedroom door so fast, he nearly left a trail of fire behind him. For the next several hours, Temari chased Naruto all over the village and he used his skills he learned from when he used to play pranks, to hide expertly. After a while he gave her the slip and found himself in front of the Hokage Tower. Figuring Tsunade would be able to help him somehow, since she was a female too, so he ran up the side of the building using chakra, and leaned in the window. Tsunade wasn't in her office, so he climbed in, took a seat in her chair, and tried to figure out how to make it up to Temari for messing up her fan. Man, what to do, maybe I'll take my mind of it for a while and do something else till Grandma Tsunade comes back, Naruto said out loud. But what? What are these? He picked up a random paper off Tsunade's desk and looked at it. It was a request form for a B rank mission. Looks like it's a request from the T County for our ninjas to stop raids on their shipments by a large gathering of bandits and high-ranked Chunin-ranked ninjas, Naruto read out loud. But the description of the ninja is clearly Genin at best, not Chunin. This should be a C-rank mission, not B. Not thinking she would mind, Naruto wrote out a note and used Tsunade's personal Hokage stamp on it, before sending it to the messenger bird tower with a shadow clone to be sent to the T country. He also approved a C-rank mission and assigned Team Ebisu, which had Konohamaru, Moegi and Udon. That was pretty easy. I don't see why Grandma Tsunade is always complaining about her paperwork, he said, grinning. What's the next one? A request from a shop owner in the eastern part of the city for repair funds to fix his shop. How much does he want? 100,000 ryo. Is he insane? Naruto quickly looked through the papers till he found an active new genin team that was on standby. Perfect. I'll assign them the job of repairing the store as a D rank mission, that will save the village, like 60,000 ryo, ha. I'm a genius. Naruto exclaimed, happily. Grandma Tsunade should just hand over the title of Hokage to me now, I'm more than ready. The door opened and Shizune walked in with a small stack of papers in her hands. She looked up and saw Naruto sitting at the Hokage's desk. Naruto. What are you doing sitting in Tsunade's chair? And are those mission reports? Shizune asked, dropping the stack she had and racing to the desk. You filled out several files. Actually, you did fairly well, and your ideas for these missions do save the Leaf Village a lot of money. Naruto, how would you like to make some extra pocket money? Extra pocket money? Naruto asked, curiously. How? Shizune Nichan. Well, it's no secret that Tsunade likes to skip out on her paperwork and drink sake, so, how would you like to do this paperwork for today? She asked, smiling. Not only could you make some money, but it would be good training for when you become Hokage. Naruto grinned like a madman and said, sounds awesome, sis. Well then I'll just leave you here. By the way, why were you here in the first place? Shizune asked, gathering up papers. Oh crap, I almost forgot, it's like this, Naruto said, and he explained what had happened with Temari. And I found myself here, so I decide to try my hand at this paperwork. I see, this isn't good, Naruto. You need to go and apologize to her, Shizune said, sitting in the chair across from Naruto. I know, but I need to do more than just say I'm sorry. I broke her favorite battle fan, I need to replace it. Yeah, I need to get her a new one. That or get it repaired, Naruto said, looking across the desk at Shizune. It was pretty badly torn though. So a new one's the best bet, right? Any ideas on where I would find a shop that sells battle fans? Sorry, I'm not a ninja who really uses weapon attacks, not outside kunai and shurikens, anyway. Shizune said, thinking. Don't any of your friends use weapon-based attacks? Naruto thought about it for a moment and then grinned. Yeah, I forget. Bushy Brow's teammate, Panda Girl, uses only weapons for her fighting style. He said, grinning still. I bet she knows of a good weapon shop. Panda Girl? Bushy Brow? Who on earth are you taking about, Naruto? Shizune asked nervously, imagining a literal half-panda, half-girl thing and someone with giant eyebrows. Oh, those are nicknames. I call Rock Lee, Busy Brow, cause of his big eyebrows, and Tenten Panda Girl, cause she always keeps her hair in buns and reminds me of a little panda, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his neck and grinning. I just need to ask Tenten about where she buys weapons, and I'm set. What about this paperwork? Shizune asked, raising an eyebrow. Easy, I'll send a shadow clone to find her, and I'll stay here to do this. He replied, already standing up. Shadow clone jutsu. A second Naruto appeared beside him, waiting for orders. Hey, Shizune, can I get that pay in advance? I need it for the new fan. Shizune thought for a moment before smiling at him. I shouldn't, but okay, as long as you guarantee that you'll finish this work. I promise to, and that's my word, believe it. He exclaimed to her. She unlocked the petty cash lock box and handed Naruto a small brown envelope. Okay, here you go, you can have the 60,000 ryo that you saved the village on that mission. Naruto grinned and turned to his shadow clone. Okay, you know what to do, so get to it. The clone gave him a salute and was about to jump out the window to do his task, until Naruto stopped him. Wait, here, take this, it's the design specs sheet I snagged from Temari's stuff. I'm not sure why she had these, but it's a good thing I grabbed them. He handed his clone the papers and let the clone leave to do his task, while he got to work on the paperwork before him. For reference, I'll refer to the shadow clone Naruto with a C after his name. 20 minutes later, the clone Naruto finally found Tenten as she walking toward her squad's training area. Hey, Tenten, wait up for a sec. A voice yelled out. Tenten turned around and saw Naruto running towards her. She waved to him and yelled out, Hey there, Naruto, long time no see. Naruto finally came to a stop in front of, and caught his breath. Thanks for waiting, Tenten, I need to ask you something. Sure. What is it? She asked, smiling. Well, I wanted to know what store you get your weapons from. I need to get something custom made, Naruto said, putting his hands in his waist. You want a weapon made? Yes. Someone else has found the love of weapon using. She exclaimed, grabbing his hands and dancing around in a circle. Welcome to the weapon side, my friend. Discover more. Naruto Shippuden the movie, Bonds. Naruto Bonds. Writers' conferences. Movie posters. Online writing communities. Character design software. Fan fiction contests. Author interviews. Play scripts. Premium subscription service. Oh man. She looks so happy, and if tell her I just wanna know where she buys them to get one for someone else, she's going be devastated. What am I going to do? Naruto see though T to himself as she continued to dance with him. I guess I can have her teach me about weapons. I already have some awesome justice, but you can never have too many attack options. Yeah, sounds like a plan. I'm sure the boss will be fine with it. Now I just need that fan for Temari. Hey Tenten, can we stop celebrating for a minute? You're making me dizzy, Naruto exclaimed to her. Oh, sorry about that, I got caught up in the moment, Tenten said, blushing slightly. So what is it? Did you wanna start right now? First off, I can't start today. I'm actually on a self-appointed mission to get a custom battle fan made for someone, a fellow wind user, Naruto said to her. By the way, are we done holding hands yet? Tenten looked down and realized she had never let go of his hands from before. She turned dark red and instantly let go of his hands. Sorry, she said, looking away. By the way, you said you need a weapon made, right? Well, my dad runs a local weapon shop, and I'm sure he'd be happy to make it for you. Gee, thanks Tenten, you rock. Naruto said, out loud. So, can we go? Where's the shop? Right, follow me, she said, pulling him along. It's not far, so keep up. About 5 minutes later they arrived at the weapon shop. So is this it? It just says, Konoha Advanced Best Weapons Shop, number offense, but that's not a very original name for a shop, you know, Naruto exclaimed, looking up at the sign. Yeah, I know. Dad wanted to call it, the Fighting Dragon, but Mom said no. Tenten said, sighing. Well, come on in, let's see about that battle fan of yours. They walked in and went past the front counter into the back, where a large muscular man, with brown hair in a ponytail, was working on a sword. He looked over and saw them, giving them a nod. Hey there sweetie, who's your friend? He asked, raising an eyebrow. This is my friend Naruto, you know, the guy who saved the village from the Akatsuki member Pain, and more recently, the hero of the 4th Shinobi War, Tenten said, proudly. Is that so? Well, good to meet the Leaf Village hero in person. What can I do for ya? He said, shaking Naruto's hand. You name it, you got it. Really? That great, cause I kind of came here cause I need a custom battle fan made for a wind user. Friend of mine, can you do it? Naruto asked, looking hopeful. Yeah, sure thing, young man, when do you need it? Tenten's dad asked, putting down the sword he was working on. And do you have a specific design in mind? Yeah, I have the design specs for it right here. I need a replica of this fan, Naruto said, handing the man the papers. The man looked over the papers for a moment before looking at Naruto. This is a somewhat basic battle fan, and shouldn't be much of a problem to do. I can modify a partially constructed one I have and have it ready for you in a couple of hours. He said, to him. How's that sound? That's great, Naruto said, grinning. I'll come back and pick it up then. You have to go, Tenten asked sadly. I was hoping we could begin your weapon training today. Naruto patted Tenten on her back gently. Sorry Tenten, I gotta get back to the Hokage's office. I'm doing some important work for Shizune, he said to her, but tomorrow, we'll begin my training and have a blast with it, okay? Tenten smiled at him. Sounds great, I only have team training in the morning. So, how about after lunch at 1 o'clock? She asked him. We can train together then. Sounds good, see you tomorrow Tenten, Naruto said, walking to the doorway. And I'll see you, Tenten's dad, in a few hours, thanks again. They both waved him off, and once outside Naruto dispelled himself, so the real Naruto could absorb his memories and experiences. Back at the Hokage's office, the real Naruto paused the paperwork as he felt the shadow clone's memories and experiences. "Ah man," Naruto said out loud, as he sighed. Shizune walked back into the room and looked at the now somewhat depressed Naruto. "Naruto, what's wrong all of a sudden?" she asked, concerned. "Is it about a mission that needs approved?" "No, but in order to get that weapon made for Temari, my clone kinda agreed to be taught about and train using different weapons with Panda Girl. I mean Tenten," he replied looking absently at a paper in front of him. "And it starts tomorrow." "Well, it was worth it for Temari, right?" Shizune asked, trying to give it a positive spin. "I guess it was, probably," he replied, still slightly depressed. "It's not like I don't like Tenten or anything, it's just I don't really use any weapons outside of shurikens and kunai, but I did already promise, and I never go back on my promises. By the way, outside of destroying Temari's fan, do you think things are going okay with your relationship with her?" Shizune asked, curiously. "Relationship? I'm getting married to already, right? What's the difference?" he asked, genuinely confused. Shizune felt like smacking herself in the head, but chose not to and instead said, "Naruto, you can't get out of this marriage, but you do want one built on love, right?" "Love? Yes," he answered, unsurely. She sighed and shook her head. "Yes, is the right answer. You need to take her on dates, spend time with her, really get to know her, and eventually you'll fall in love," she replied, smiling dreamily. "Dates, huh? What do I do on a date?" he asked, but never got an answer because Tsunade walked in the door, grinning happily. "Can't believe Ibiki thought he could drink me under the table, ha. What a lightweight," Tsunade said, walking forward a few feet. "Huh, Naruto. What are you doing sitting at my desk, doing official paperwork?" "I let him, for some extra pocket money, Lady Tsunade," Shizune said, walking over to her. "I actually have a good reason for it, and I think after hearing about you'll agree it was a good idea." "Oh really? Then by all means, explain," Tsunade said, folding her arms. "It had better be good, Shizune." Shizune went on to explain everything from when she first found him at her desk to just a few minutes ago. "And so as you can see, he was perfect for this job," Shizune said, standing behind Naruto, her hands on his shoulders. Was all Tsunade said, before walking over and looking over a few mission reports and requests. "Well, you did do a good job with this. Alright, how would you like to take over this stuff for me again tomorrow, brat?" "Tomorrow? Sorry grandma, I promised Tenten to train with her, remember," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "And even more importantly than that, he needs to get closer to Temari, you know, have a real relationship with her," Shizune chimed in. "I see, you don't know much about that stuff though, do you?" Tsunade said, putting the paperwork back down. "Okay, how long before you pick up that fan thing from the shop?" "It's a battle fan, grandma, and I have like, an hour and a half or so, why?" Naruto asked, wondering what she was up to. Tsunade grinned and pulled up 2 chairs to the front of the desk, and had Shizune sit next to her. "For the next hour and a half, me and Shizune are going to teach you a few things about women, and relationships, so listen up, brat." Naruto could only gulp as Tsunade began, and although he knew the information would be invaluable, part of him wished he was getting tortured by Ibiki or Anko instead. Elsewhere in the village, both Anko and Ibiki sneezed. "I hope no one's talking about me," they both thought, before getting back to their duties. And that's basically all you need to know for now. Although I'd recommend getting some more current advice from a girl around your age as well, maybe Ino or Sakura. Tsunade said, standing up to stretch. "Sakura," Naruto said sadly, as he turned and looked out the window. Naruto, we're all aware of your feelings toward her, but unfortunately, you don't a chance now, so deal with it, Tsunade said, calmly. I know this is tough on you, but this could be a really good thing, so give it an honest chance, okay? Now, get going, you do have get that fan, right? Yeah, I almost forgot. He replied, grinning. It should be ready by now. He jumped to the window, ready to go after it. Hey, get her a flower while you're at it, and make sure to apologize sincerely, Shizune said to him before he left. He gave a nod, and leapt out, en route to the weapons shop. By the way, even though both Naruto and Temari are Jonin, and Sakura is Chunin, we're going to make Temari part of Squad 7, which will still be active as a team. Get me a form, will you, Shizune? Sure, I'll get that from. Don't do you think his relationship will go okay with Temari, Lady Tsunade? Shizune asked, looking over at her. Don't worry, that boy's got pure luck, and a lovability about him that few women can resist. Once they get to know him, that is, he'll be fine, Tsunade said, sitting down in her chair. But now I gotta finish this paperwork. I really need him to show me how to use shadow clones. Hey, Shizune, you know how to make shadow clones too, right? Tsunade asked, in his sweetest voice as possible. She turned but only saw the door hanging open and Shizune gone, the sound of retreating footsteps the thing that broke through the quiet. Shizune, get back here, and teach me the shadow clone technique. Tsunade yelled, racing out the door after her. I don't wanna do paperwork. Meanwhile, Naruto picked up the battle fan, to which Tenten's dad insisted he not pay a cent for, and had a shadow clone race to pick and to thorn a couple of wild roses and then meet up with him by the gates of his district. He was still getting used to that one, and chuckled as he took the flowers from his clone, dispelled him and raced up the path to his house. He arrived at the house and slowly opened the door, looking around for Temari. Looks like she's not even here. Good, I can just put this in her room, before she gets back, Naruto said, quietly. Put what in my room, Naruto? Said a female voice, from above him at the top of the banister. I looked for you for quite some time. And I almost thought you weren't coming back. To be honest, that thought kind of made me somewhat disappointed. Oh hey, Temari, listen. I'm really sorry about your fan. I even got an exact replica made of it for you, he said, putting his hands together. Is there any way you can stop being mad and forgive me? She walked down the stairs smiling, though Naruto was busy looking down at the floor. I even got you some flowers. I mean, I didn't know your favorite or anything, but I tried to get something nice and I had to do paperwork for the Hokage to earn the money to get the fan. I'm not saying it wasn't worth it, cause it was, but. He stopped blabbering when he felt her pull him into a hug. She wrapped her arms around him and squeezed tightly. Naruto, to be honest, I wasn't even mad for that long after I started chasing you. In fact, I spent most of the night trying to find you so I could tell as much, Temari said, releasing her grip on him. It was partially my fault for not watching your technique more closely, in the first place. Well, I'm still sorry. So, do want this fan? He asked somewhat nervously. I know it's not the original, but it's pretty close. I'll gladly accept it, the roses, and treasure them both, thank you, Naruto, Temari replied, stepping back. Now, it's kind of late, so let's try to get some sleep, and start fresh tomorrow, okay? Okay, so what do you want for breakfast, tomorrow? He asked as they walked up the stairs. You can cook something beside ramen. Temari asked, jokingly. Who would have thought? He groaned and said, come on Temari-chan, believe it or not pervy sage. I mean Jiraiya had me learn some cooking skills, during my training all those years ago, not to mention I've always lived alone, and learned some stuff from the old man third Hokage too. Okay, it was just a joke, you knucklehead. Temari said, grinning. For breakfast tomorrow, I'd like an egg white mozzarella omelet with buttered toast and orange juice. Okay, my princess, Your wish is my command, he said, bowing in a joking manner. So, I guess I'll see you tomorrow then, Temari. Good night. He was about to walk away, when he felt her tug on his sleeve. He turned around and raised an eyebrow. What is it, Temari? He asked, in an unsure tone. We technically just made up from our first, relationship-related fight, and we are about to go to sleep, right? She asked, smiling. Do you know what two people in a relationship who make up after a fight or are about to go to sleep do? He shook his head and stared blankly at her. She smiled and walked up to him. She leaned forward and kissed him on his cheek, and was pleased to see he had turned bright red, after she pulled away. Before she walked her room though, she turned and said, by the way, for future reference, my favorite flower is the desert lily. He stood there, nodding with his face red, sputtering, even after she said goodnight, and closed her door. He reached up and felt his face. He had gotten kissed. Sure, it was only on the cheek, but it was his first kiss nonetheless. All he could do was smile and walk to his room to get ready for bed. There was a note from Iruka saying he did Naruto a favor and set up his bedroom for him, and that he wanted to get together when he had a chance to get dome ramen and catch up. He smiled and silently thanked Iruka before he took off his pants, jacket and put on his nightcap with the dog face on it, that he still refused to get rid of, since Iruka had been the one to get it for him when he was little. He crawled into bed and couldn't help but think about the kiss from Temari. It had only been a kiss on the cheek, but he had never known any real affection outside of the third Hokage, and later, Iruka-sensei. He still wasn't sure about marriage, and couldn't deny his feelings he still had for Sakura. But he was beginning to think that maybe marrying someone like Temari wasn't the worst thing in the world to happen to him, after all. With that, the long day caught up with him and he was snoring away. Meanwhile, Temari was laying in her own bed, thinking about all the things that had happened that day. It's hard to believe I'm getting married in a little over a month and a half, she said to herself. And to Naruto Uzumaki no less. I should be angry about being forced to marry someone, but at least it's a trustworthy and kind person. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, all things considered. I could have had to marry that lazy-ass Shikamaru. She couldn't help but laugh about that. Sure, he's gotten a bit better, but he's still lazy, easily distracted, unmotivated as ever, and would rather sleep or watch clouds than do anything else. She stated, looking up at the ceiling. I also think it was quite amusing to watch him lay down on the ground to look at clouds next to the tree during the final round of the last Chunin exams. Either way, this is going to be a very interesting thing, she thought to herself. I guess since I haven't got any more experience in relationships than he does, we're both going to have to play this by ear, but I think I'm looking forward to it. With that, she too went to sleep, wondering what tomorrow would bring. Despite Naruto burning the egg white omelet on his first try, he succeeded on his second attempt, although the toast ended up slightly more dark on one side. Temari was however pleased with the effort he made to keep his promise of making her breakfast, and didn't care that he failed first. She knew he had done well, either way. Of course, the morning hadn't gone completely smooth. With both of them half asleep, neither of them seemed remember the other was there and came out of their rooms about the same time in their pajamas, Naruto in his boxers and t-shirt, Temari in a shirt and panties. Needless to say that when they saw each other they quickly raced back into their rooms, faces red. They met each other in the hall a few moments later, this time with more clothing on. Good morning, Temari, Naruto said, with slightly red cheeks, as he avoiding eye contact. Hey there, Naruto, good morning. She replied, her face also red. Okay, how about we ignore what happened and start fresh, sound good? Naruto gulped and nodded, trying to get the image of Temari in her underwear out of his mind. He wasn't a pervert, just a healthy teen boy, so it wasn't his fault. Yeah, let's do that, Temari, shall we go get breakfast? I did promise to make some. She agreed and they went on their way, down the stairs. After breakfast, Temari decided, mostly due to Naruto bugging her to do so, that would go and begin his wind chakra training. They used the map Naruto had done up with his clones, to find the training area. Holy crap, it's huge, Temari. Naruto exclaimed, spreading his arms outward. It's like 3 Squad 7 training grounds combined. Yes, it definitely is big, almost too big, Temari said, looking around. This was probably the grounds that was used by a large group of ninjas at once. Are you ready to begin, Naruto? She looked over and saw him using his Rasengan against some small trees. So impatient, Naruto, get your butt over here, now. Naruto stopped what he was doing and ran over to her, skidding to a stop by her. Here and ready, ma'am, he said with a salute. Temari grinning and shook her head. You can be so weird sometimes, Naruto. You're lucky you're kind of cute. He sputtered slightly at the comment but managed to keep his blush to a minimum. After a moment he said, So what are we doing first, Temari-sensei? Just stick with Temari, smartass, she said, smiling. We're going to go back to basics, Naruto. First, you need to sharpen your chakra, and use it to cut a leaf in half, with as clean of cut as possible. So, grab a leaf of a tree, and hold it by the stem. He nodded and grabbed a leaf of the nearest tree. He held it by the stem as instructed and focused his chakra, like Asuma-sense had taught years ago. After a moment, dozens of deep cuts appeared in the leaf, before he cut it almost in half diagonally. Not bad, but you waste too much chakra, and you took too long to cut it in half, Temari said, looking at the pieces of leaf. But all things considered, it's a good start. Once you get better you may wanna think about getting battle fan like I use or some other wind manipulating weapon, in order to manipulate your wind chakra, and unleash some very powerful attacks in the process. So, cool, Naruto exclaimed, balling up his fists. I can't wait to learn some awesome moves. He. One thing at a time there, ramen boy. Temari said, smiling at him. I'm not teaching you anything until you get a lot quicker and more accurate with your wind chakra release. But Temari, he pouted. Why not? Sorry, but you need to control your wind chakra better first, so that you actually do more power attacks, Temari said, in response, while holding her hand on her hip. And by the way, that pouty face doesn't work on me, so give it up. He folded his arms and mumbled about unfair woman, while she laughed at the spectacle. 1 minute he acts like a grown-up that's wise beyond his years, the next like a 5-year-old, at least he's got a fun personality, she thought to herself. By the way Temari, are you going to go visit Gaara and Makeup Boy? Naruto asked, serious once again. They are leaving tomorrow, and you probably won't have as much time to visit them after we're, married. Temari thought about it for a second. It's true she hadn't spent a lot of time just relaxing with her brothers, since the end of the war. She was too busy dealing with diplomatic-related things, that had her running all over the village. I think I'd like to do that, you don't mind? She asked, looking back at him. I would like to see them again before they left. Not at all. If I had family I know I'd want to visit them, especially if I wouldn't get to see them again for quite a while, Naruto said, in a sad manner. Naruto, Temari said, feeling sorry that outside of the Hokage, he hadn't had any family most of his life. You have me now, and furthermore, Gaara and Kankuro, or as you call him, Makeup Boy, could be considered your brothers now as well. I guess you're right, I have brothers. This is so awesome, Naruto said, cheering up. I have a grandma and now 2 brothers, and soon a wife too. I'm really happy, I'm glad to hear it. Being gloomy doesn't suit you. Temari replied, walking up to him and resting a hand on his shoulder. We're all here for you, so don't you forget that, knucklehead. Will do, he replied, grinning. So why don't you get going? I have training and other things to do as well, Really now? Okay then, I guess I'll see you later, Naruto, she replied, putting her battle fan on her back, and walking away. I'm not sure how long I'll be gone, but I'll try to get home around dinner time. Bye, Naruto. Bye Temari, he yelled, as she walked off, down the path to the front gates. Now then, first things first. I promised to train with Tenten, and then I gotta find a way to set up a great date with Temari, like Grandma Tsunade and Big Sis Shizune told me to. I'll figure out the date thing later, now I gotta go meet Tenten. Naruto said, as he ran to lock up the front door. Afterwards and hopped into the trees and leapt from branch to branch toward the main part of Konoha. As Naruto went off to train with Tenten, Temari decided to visit her brothers, Gaara and Kankuro, before they left the village, and Naruto had suggested. She went straight to their hotel and nodded at the guards. Is Gaara and Kankuro around? She asked them. Yes they are, Lady Temari, please go in, one of the guards said, and stepped aside for her. She walked and found Gaara doing paperwork at his desk while Kankuro was fixing some joints on one of his puppets. The both looked up when she came inside, and greeted her in different ways. Hey, how's it going sis, is Blondie behaving? Kankuro asked, smirking at her. Don't be an idiot Kankuro, even if it is very hard for you to do, she replied smirking back. Everything's fine the most part. For the most part, Gaara inquired putting his paperwork aside. Is there something wrong, problems perhaps? Not really, I mean he did damage my battle fan beyond repair yesterday, but it's fine, she said, casually as she sat down on a free chair. He broke your battle fan? Kankuro asked in surprise. Did you kill him? Need help burying the body? No I did not kill him, because A, it wasn't entirely his fault, and B, he went through lot of trouble to buy me a exact replica of it for me to replace it, Temari said, crossing her arms. I should be used to it by now, but you know, it feels cold, compared to the sand village. So, you and Naruto made up? Gaara asked, standing up slowly. Yeah, he might be a goofball, but at the same time he seems to be a really sweet guy, Temari said, smiling. I'm almost tempted to thank the Sand Council for this. Without this marriage thing, I might have missed out on getting to know him. So, you're okay with this whole thing? Kankuro asked, carefully, well aware of Temari's temper. I thought you'd be pissed. Oh believe me I am. As the training fields at Naruto's house, or I guess our house now, can contest to. Temari said, scrunching her eyebrows. But there's no sense in being mad at Naruto or the Hokage, it's not their fault, that belongs to the Sand Council, the Leaf Council, and that traitor Danzo. They're the ones who did this, though even now I don't understand why, given how much he apparently hated Naruto. Well it's good to know you two are getting along more or less, Kankuro said, going back to his puppet. Yeah it is, I guess, Temari said smiling. I wonder what our future holds. No doubt with the #1 most unpredictable knuckle-headed ninja at my side, it's going to be very interesting. I am certain he will make you happy, Temari, Gaara said, folding his arms, he did make it a promise after all. He never breaks a promise. Meanwhile in the Hokage's office Tsunade was half doing her paperwork and half pushing it off onto Shizune to do for her. The door to her office opened and Shizune came in holding a numbers of papers with a strange look on her face. Shizune, what's wrong? Tsunade asked, setting down the mission report she was skimming over. Since it was revealed to the other clan heads about Naruto's marriage and status as the only surviving member of the Namikaze and Uzumaki clans, there are a few other clans that apparently aren't happy with Naruto marrying Temari and want him to marry girls from their clans instead. Shizune replied, walking over to the desk with the papers and setting them down. Which clans are involved in this argument? Tsunade asked, raising an eyebrow. A number of them, actually. Shizune said, looking at one of the papers she had brought in with her. The Hyuga clan demands him to marry either Hinata or Hanabi Hyuga, the Aburame clan asks that he marry Shino's cousin, Akira, and the Yamanaka clan believes it would be good for Naruto to marry Ino. 3 clan fighting the marriage rights to one blonde knucklehead, Tsunade said, putting her elbow on the desk and resting her chin on her hand. Obviously they're all denied. Do they really think they have a shot? Apparently, yes, Shizune said, with a worried expression on her face. In fact, all of the clan leaders I just mentioned have made appointments to see you and discuss this, all at the same time. Tsunade slammed her face down on the desk in frustration. UHHHG. Stupid bickering dumbasses, she said, her face flat against the desktop. Fine, what time are they going to be here? Looks like in about 15 minutes, Shizune replied, with a sympathetic look on her face. Sorry, Lady Tsunade, I just got this paper myself. How is it Naruto can cause my headaches when he's not even here? Tsunade asked rhetorically, as she picked her head off the desk. Shizune just smiled nervously at her, and didn't know what to say in reply. Are they already here waiting to start the meeting by chance? Tsunade asked, in a depressed tone. I'm not sure, but I can go check the waiting area, if you like. Shizune said, walking to the door. By all means do, the Hokage replied, opening a drawer on her desk. And if they're there, bring them up so we can get this shit moving along. Yes of course, Lady Tsunade, she replied, walking out the door and closing it behind her. As soon as she left, Tsunade pulled out a storage scroll and activated it. Out popped a small bottle of sake which she eagerly took a big gulp from. Ah, nothing like some fresh, relaxing sake to calm you down before a no doubt, stressful meeting. She said to herself before she heard faint footsteps coming towards her office. Shit, must be Shizune with the clan heads, better put this away for now, I'll need it afterwards. She quickly resealed the sake into the scroll and put it back into her desk, and just in time as the door opened just as she closed the drawer. Ah, you're here, welcome, Hiyashi Hyuga, Shibi Aburame, and Inoichi Yamanaka, Tsunade said, in as a polite voice as she could muster. Have a seat and we'll begin. The 3 took their seats and waited for the Hokage to start. Before we begin, Shibi, may I ask where the Aburame clan leader is and why you're substituting for him? Tsunade asked, in curiosity. He is unfortunately dealing with the rebuilding of our clan's diminished Kikaichu insect colonies that were lost in the war and could not make it. Shibi replied in the usual soft-spoken Aburame way. As the second in command of our clan, I was sent to in his place. Very well, then we can begin now, Tsunade said. The reason for this meeting is due to all 3 of your clans claiming that Naruto Uzumaki should marry into your clan instead of marrying into Temari's family. We'll go from left to right, so we'll start with you, Hiyashi. Thank you, Lord Hokage. There are many reasons why he should marry into my clan, including his lineage as being the last of highly praised Uzumaki clan, and the Namake's clan. He is also related to you and the Senju clan in general, making him the great-grandson of the first Hokage, the great-grand-nephew of the second, the son of the fourth, and the grandson of you, the fifth. He's related to 4 out of the 5 Hokages of this village, that means he should marry into clans from here, not another village, Hiyashi stated, with arms folded and his face calm and stoic. As fascinating as that history lesson is, I'm already quite aware of these things, Tsunade said, folding her hands together and putting them on the desk. Tell me why he should marry into your clan in specific. Of course, outside of keeping his bloodline contained within the village, Naruto's positive influence has changed both my daughter Hinata and my nephew Neji for the better. Before, Hinata was scared of everything, wouldn't try, barely made it to Genin, could barely speak without stuttering and had no confidence whatsoever. But Naruto changed that, and now she is strong, confident, and is back on track to be the next clan head. Hiyashi stated, looking forward. If they were to marry, then just imagine how far she could go, and I now know about Hinata's massive crush on the boy, which she's apparently had since before the Ninja Academy. He obviously cares about her as well, so it would be a perfect match for them. I see. Well, what about you offering either Hinata or her younger sister as potential fiancés? Hinata at least makes sense, but Hanabi is 11 years old. That's nearly a 6 years difference in age. Tsunade said, in outrage. You expect him to marry a 11-year-old girl? Why on earth would you want that anyway? In nobility, is often the case that girls are married off to men that are sometimes as much as 20 or 30 years older. In this case, a mere 6 years is hardly that bad. Hiyashi said, calmly. Besides, Hinata only has about a year left before it's decide whether or not she becomes the next clan head. If she is deemed unworthy, then it will fall to Hanabi upon her 18th birthday. As such, the council will no doubt push for her, the next clan leader, to marry Naruto instead of Hinata. Tsunade sat back and tried to absorb the information Hiyashi had given her. It was true that she couldn't interfere in clan traditions such as marrying daughters to older males, and that keeping the bloodlines of both the Uzumaki and Namakes in the village would also be seen as important if this case was brought to the attention of the Fire Lord. Still, she hadn't even heard from the other two clans yet, and had to consider their views as well. I see your point well, Lord Hyuga, but I cannot make any decision without the Fire Lord's input. Besides, I also need some input from the Yamanaka and Aburame clans as well, she finally said, after a few minutes. Shibi Aburame, you're next. He nodded and began. Much of what Lord Hyuga stated is quite true, however, besides us having always been supportive of him in council meetings, the Aburame clan can uniquely sympathize with young Naruto. As while he has but one presence living inside of him, my clan's bodies are host to the presence of millions of insects, and are much like him in that regard. You too, make some good points, Tsunade admitted. Finally, Inoichi, you can have your say now. Thank you, my lady. The reasons Naruto should marry into my clan are as follow. First, my daughter Ino will be the next clan head and is his age. Secondly, she has spoken about how amazing he is, and how cute he is since his return to the village from his nearly 3 years long training. Inoichi said, clearing his throat afterward. Now, another thing to consider is that as a clan of mind walkers, we would be skilled in assisting him with any mental anguish from dealing with the 9-tailed fox he carries. Once again, you a good point. However, in your case, from what I understand, your daughter Ino was one of the many children who tormented him as a very young boy. Just because her opinion of him has changed for the better in more recent years, doesn't erase her cruelty towards him. Tsunade said, looking at Inoichi. I'm sorry, but I must look out for Naruto's best interests. Even though I couldn't stop his marriage to Temari in the first place, I do have input about this particular situation, and I believe that aren't benefits to him marrying into your clan for you to justify your position. Your clan has no say in this as of now, I'm sorry. I see. Sigh. Very well, I will take my leave, Lord Hokage. Inoichi replied, standing up, and walking out the door. Now as for you two, Tsunade said, looking at Inoichi and Hiyashi. If you still wish to challenge this marriage, I'm required to send a message to the Fire Lord, wait for a reply, which may take between several days, and several weeks. Furthermore, this will require me to send a message to Suna Council, informing them of your challenges, and put the current marriage plans of Naruto and Temari on hold as well. Hiyashi spoke up at that moment. Perhaps there is another option we haven't considered. One which will make all the involved parties satisfied, he said, rubbing his chin. Since Naruto is the last of both the Namakes and Uzumaki clans, does he not qualify under the Clan Restoration Act? He could marry Temari, as well as into the Hyuga and Aburame clans at the same time. I have no doubt it won't be long before the Leaf Council thinks of activating that act for him anyway. Tsunade only grumbled under her breath in response. A minute later she finally spoke again. Once again you bring up a point, however, this entire thing will still require third-party guidance from the Fire Lord. And since I take it you're both serious about going through with this challenge, I need to send a message to him. Are you both in agreement to this? Both Hiyashi and Shibi nodded wordlessly to her. Fine, Tsunade-sai, I'll send word in tomorrow's mail run, and for now I need to attempt to think about all that was said here and consider things somewhat until I get word from the Fire Lord. The two clan leaders then both stood up, bid her farewell and left. As soon as the door closed she collapsed onto the desk. UHHHG, Shizune, why do so many people insist on making both my life and Naruto's life so damn complicated? I'm not sure, Lady Tsunade, replied Shizune, who had been quiet the entire meeting. So what are we going to do anyway? Not a damn clue, but at least I've brought us about 3 or 4 weeks. She replied to her assistant. 3 or 4 weeks, but I thought you said it would take between several days and several weeks, which implies a maximum of 2 weeks, not 3 or 4 inches, Shizune said, confused. Why would it take so long, Lady Tsunade? Tsunade grinned at her and said, because I'm going to have one of my Anbu deliver it, and take a slow and very long detour to get to the Fire Lord, and then another detour on the way back. That way it will stretch the mission out to 3 or 4 weeks. I see, but what can you do in 3 or 4 weeks to help Naruto, that you can't do in 2? Shizune asked, almost afraid of the answer. Don't you worry, I have it planned out, Tsunade said, still grinning. Trust me. After nearly 2 hours of training with Tenten, which mostly centered on the uses, strengths, and weaknesses of several different weapons, they decided to call it a day. To be more accurate, however, they stopped because Might Guy, Rock Lee, and Neji had showed up telling Tenten they had a mission. They bid each other farewell and went their separate ways. Naruto walked through town, with his hands behind his head, thinking. I still need set up this date thing, like Grandma Tsunade and Shizune Nichan told me to, but I've never been on a date before, so what do I do for a date? Not noticing where he was walking, he ended up in front of the flower shop owned by Ino's family. Ino's a girly girl, I bet she'd have some advice on dating, better than no one, I guess. He opened the shop door and walked in, finding Ino standing behind the counter, looking bored. She looked up when the door opened and saw Naruto come in. Hey there, Naruto, she said, giving him a smile. Never thought I'd see you in here, don't you usually pick your own flowers? Yeah, I do, but I'm not here for flowers, Ino-chan, he said, walking up to her. I need your advice on something. My advice? She asked, quizzically. Sure, what is it about? Well, it's about setting up the perfect date, he started to say, but he barely got that out before Ino squealed like a schoolgirl. Oh my god, oh my god. Who is it? Who are you dating? Did Billboard Brow finally say yes? Is it someone else? Ino asked in one breath, her eyes twinkling. He reached out and put his hands on her shoulders. Calm down, Ino-chan, sheesh. No, it's not Sakura-chan, and if I tell you, absolutely cannot tell anyone, besides Sakura-chan, who already knows, he said, calmly. Do you agree? She took a deep breath and nodded. I promise, now tell me, tell me, tell me. Naruto groaned and began to regret coming into the shop. I thought you were more mature than this, Ino, I mean you usually are. Huh. Well, maybe you're right. She relied, blushing from embarrassment. Sorry about that, I'll be calm and mature, so go on, who's the lucky lady in the great Naruto Uzumaki's life? I'm not that great, but as for who it is, it's Temari of the Sand Village, Naruto replied, putting his hands in his pockets. The blonde girl who's always hanging around with Shikamaru? Ino asked, in surprise. I never would have seen that one coming, that's for sure, so how did you two, hook up? It's a long story, and one I'll tell you some other time. Now about that advice, he said, trying to get her back on subject. Will you help me plan a perfect date for her or not? That should go without saying, of course, she replied, putting her apron on the coat hook and closing up the shop. Come on, we'll head back to my house, I only have about 15 minutes till my lunch hour break anyways. We'll discuss things there. Okay sure, lead the way, Ino-chan, Naruto stated, following her out the back door and down the street. After walking for a few minutes they stopped in front of a two-story, light blue house. So this is your house, Ino-chan. Yup. Let's go in, Naruto, Ino replied, walking up to the front door and opening it right up. Come on, hurry up, if you want advice, then get a move on. Right, you're sure your parents won't mind you bringing home a boy, especially me? He asked, hesitantly. She stood in the doorway, and looked at him. Relax, A, you're just a friend who's getting relationship advice, and B, my parents know that you're not the nine-tailed fox, Naruto, Ino said, smiling. Now come on, stop stalling. He gave her a smile back, and walked inside with her. Her dad, Kunoichi, was writing up a mission report. He looked at them as they entered the living room. Ino, I see you're on your lunch break. He said, putting paperwork down. And you brought Naruto here. I hope you're not trying to date him so you can use his status as a hero to boost your popularity. Dad, Ino yelled. I am not trying to date him, or use him like that. Sheesh. Naruto's my friend, for crying out loud. Alright, I believe you, so then what are you two up to then? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Simple, I'm helping him set up the perfect romantic date. Ino said, holding her hands together, with a dreamy look in her eyes. I wish I had a guy to take me on a romantic date. Is it too late for you break it off with her? Ino, relax. Are you going to help me or just make googly eyes at me? Naruto asked, with a tiny red tinge on his cheeks. I could always ask someone else. No wait, I'll stop, there's no one better at this type of thing than me. She said, pleading, don't take away my fun, I mean my love of helping people. He. Right, Naruto said, shaking his head. Typical Ino-chan. Well, come on, what should I do for this date? Just out of curiosity, who's the special lady, Naruto? Kunoichi asked. Well, it's Naruto said, nervously. Her name is Temari from the Sand Village. Dad, Ino replied for him. This is going to be their first date, both with her and in general, and he's asked me for help. Huh, well, I need to turn in this report to the Hokage, so good luck with that, Kunoichi replied, walking to the front door. And don't try anything adult-like. I trust you, but I'm still a father. Dad, Naruto is not some perverted creep, he's a gentleman who would never try anything like that. Ino yelled at her dad. He exited the house, but poked his head back in momentarily. I was talking about you, Ino, he said, with a small grin, be closing the door. Ino ranted and raved about her dad, while Naruto just grinned to himself. After she was finally done, she took him into the living room and she sat down on the couch. Okay, have a seat and we'll begin planning your ultimate date. She said, smiling. Come on, sit. I'm not going to bite, unless you're into that kinky type of thing, that is. Naruto sputtered out a no way, while Ino just laughed at him. Okay, jokes aside, are you ready? Yeah, Naruto said, sitting down on the couch. Let's do this. Ino grinned and rubbed her hands together. Okay, so the first thing you wanna do is. An hour or so later, Ino had indeed helped him come up with an amazing date, as she had promised, though some of her ideas were a bit weird. And remember, even though this isn't a fancy dinner, make sure to open the door for her, pull out her seat for her, be polite, and don't eat fast either. Ino said, as Naruto walked out her front door. As he gave a wave as he ran off, she remembered she had to get to the hospital for her shift, and fast. Shit, I'm going to be late, Ino said to herself, as she locked her door and ran down the street. And I gotta change the sign on the flower shop door too. She quickly ran into the flower shop, put up the closed sign, locked the door, and ran on her way to the hospital. A few minutes later, she arrived, with 2 minutes to spare. Ha! Made it. Hey billboard brow. Ino said, as she noticed Sakura, signing in for her shift as well. Looks like I'm not the only one cutting it close, huh? Sakura looked over at her, but only made a, sound before she signed her name and grabbed her nurse's jacket. Hey! What's wrong, Sakura? You seem really quiet today, Ino said, as she signed in and grabbed her own nurse's jacket. Are you okay? Yeah. It's nothing, really, Sakura said, talking absently. I'm fine, let's just go to do our rounds. Wait a second there, Sakura. Ino said, grabbing Sakura's arm. Tell me, what's wrong, or neither one of us is taking a step forward. Quote. Sakura, is it about something? No. Someone. Maybe. Well, tell me already, Ino said, letting go of Sakura's arm. Naruto is, dating Temari from the Sand Village now. Sakura said, facing away from Ino. I'm just concerned about him, that's all, just as a friend. Yeah, I know, I helped him come up with a perfect date for him and Temari at my house earlier. Ino said, to her. We just split up and went our separate ways right before my shift started. Wait. Are you jealous of him and Temari? Of course not, it's nothing like that, Ino, really. Sakura said, waving her arms in front of her. I don't know, maybe I'm a little jealous. But, maybe it's just because I'm so used to having him by my side. Sakura, he'll still be by your side, I mean, he's your teammate and friend. Having a girlfriend's not going to change that, Ino said, giving a smile that turned into a grin. Though I have to admit, he is pretty hot these days, too bad I didn't get a change to bag him. Ino. Sheesh. I don't wanna talk about it anymore, okay? Let's just get to our shift before Lady Tsunade finds out, Sakura said, turning back around. Nut, you're right, he is pretty good looking. Too bad I didn't give him a change sooner, myself. Well, if he ever breaks up with Temari, you and I will have our chances, then, Ino said, grinning still. Right. Sakura gave her a strange, almost sad look, and replied, yeah. Right. Come on. Get to the west side of the hospital, and I'll do my rounds on the east side. She then walked off, leaving Ino there standing, confused. Why that look from you, billboard brow? Is there something I don't know? She thought. Not knowing what else to do, and nor wanting to get in trouble, she decided to leave it alone for now, and get to work herself, but intended to talk to Shizune or Lady Tsunade about it later. Elsewhere, far away from the Leaf Village, Madara Uchiha had mostly recovered, at least enough to walk around using crutches. This waiting is so irritating. Sasuke yelled, punching a practice dummy. Aren't you healed enough to train me yet? Or did I kidnap that medical ninja to treat you for nothing? Calm down, Sasuke. My injuries were quite severe thanks to the nine-tail brat, remember? I will take time, Madara said, sharply. For now, practice mastering the use of the new Susanoo Final Amaterasu technique I created and taught you, and soon you'll have a powerful ability at your disposal. So stop whining and get to work. And Uchiha does not complain, remember that. Sasuke growled in Madara's direction but didn't say anything. Instead, he walked out the door, and headed to the training area. As he activated his Mangekyo Sharingan and built up his chakra to activate the Susanoo, all he could think about was the not-so-far-away day, when he would finally kill Naruto. Along with the rest of the Leaf Village. And all watch the village burns to ground, with its villagers screaming for help, despite there being no one left to come to their aid. Sasuke started to snicker at the thought. And then went into a full-blown laugh. He he he. Ha 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 ha. And his insane laugh rang out through the area, as he trained and plotted his ultimate revenge. Was after Ino's shift, and late in the day. She had to deliver the day's reports to the Hokage and then she could leave for the day, and she wondering if Naruto's date had gone okay with the advice she had given him. Speaking of Naruto, she had some things to ask the Hokage or Shizune about Sakura in regards to Naruto. She knocked on the office door and got a reply to come in, a moment later. Hello there Ino, did you come hand your reports in? Shizune asked, looking over some paperwork on Tsunade's desk. Yeah, I did, Ino replied, handing the papers to her. By the way, I had a strange conversation with Sakura, earlier. A strange conversation? Shizune asked, giving her a curious look. What was it about? It was about Naruto, actually, Ino replied, putting a hand on her hip. I basically got Sakura to admit she has feelings for him, but when I told her she could snag him if he broke up with Temari, she got a kind of sad look on her face. Any ideas why? Shizune remained silent for a moment before answering her. I'm not sure really, maybe she was just jealous of Temari getting with Naruto before she could. You don't sound very convincing, Shizune, Ino said, in a dry tone. You know something, and I wanna know what that is. Don't worry about it for now, Ino, said, Tsunade, walking into the room. You'll be giving information soon. No, Sakura's my friend, and so is Naruto, Ino said, defiantly. If you know something, I have the right to know too. Tsunade held her head for a second. Okay. Tomorrow, I'll have you, the rest of the Rookie 11, and a few others come here in the morning. She said to Ino, sighing. We'll discuss it then at 9, now, it's late so, get home, your shift is done. Fine, Ino finally said, turning around. Bye. After Ino walked out the door and closed it behind her, Tsunade slumped onto her chair. Well, I suppose they were bound to find out sooner or later, she said, leaning back in her chair. I need to call a council meeting for tomorrow morning, at about 8, to make my announcements, or at least some of them. You aren't going to tell them everything, why not? Shizune asked, putting some papers into a drawer of a file cabinet. You don't trust them, do you? Is there a reason to? 'Cause I don't see any, Tsunade said, looking at the ceiling. They've always been against me and Naruto. I know all about how they looked the other way when Jonin Ninja tried to kill Naruto as a boy. I also know how they've done everything in their power to undermine my decisions as Hokage. Shizune remained quiet. Now then, I only intend to tell them that some important information will be revealed tomorrow, and that's all I'm saying to them, Tsunade said, sitting up, and looking at Shizune. And don't you dare tell them anything behind my back again. I know you only thought you were doing good, but you only did harm. I'm sorry Lady Tsunade, I won't say anything, to anyone, Shizune said, solemnly, you have my word, I swear on my uncle's grave. Very well Shizune, go use one of the guest rooms here, in the office to get some sleep, she said, to her. I'm going to get some sleep myself after I write this up and send it off. Shizune nodded to her, bid her good night and walked through the door leading to guest room. Tsunade quickly wrote up the information and had a messenger bird carry it to the council chamber for them to read when the council convened at 6 a.m. the next morning. The next morning at about 8 a.m., the Konoha 11, along with several clan leaders, Gaara, and his siblings, most of the Jonin, minus Kakashi, who was probably late at his own birth, and Sakura, who hadn't shown up or giving a reason for her absence. After waiting about 15 minutes, Kakashi finally appeared in a swirl of leaves. He gave a wave to the Hokage and said, sorry I'm late, I. Save it, Kakashi, as much as I enjoy hearing your creative excuses, we have things to discuss. Tsunade said, folding her hands together. Now we should wait for Sakura to arrive, but she already knows most of this, and I can fill her in on anything extra. I still say you have no right to inform everyone here about anything important before you tell us in private first, Homura Mitokado said, in a distasteful voice. As the council of the Leaf Village, we have that right. I agree, Tsunade. We needed time to edit what you revealed to those present, his teammate, Kaharu Udatane added, from her seat. And that's exactly why I didn't tell you what I was going to speak about. I didn't want you trying to tell me how to do my job, Tsunade said, with her eyebrows narrowed. The days of me playing lapdog to the council is over. In fact, you can think of it this way, from now on, you will be playing lapdogs, to me. Both Kaharu and Homura were wide-eyed and in shock at what she had said. Now then, let's get started, Tsunade said, not giving them a chance to speak. First of all, while I was in the coma, and Garo was at the Cage Summit, the Leaf and Sand Councils decided to set up a arranged marriage between Temari of the Sand and Naruto. Everyone in the room was frozen at those words and looked over at Naruto, who was sitting on the ledge of the window, staring out at the village as Temari stood near him. Before anyone could say anything else, Sakura burst through the door, showing two unconscious Anbu laying on the floor behind her. Lady Tsunade, you cannot let this happen. Naruto should not be forced to marry someone he doesn't even love. She yelled out, clenching her fist. I was all happy about the other things for him, but I refuse to let this stupid wedding thing happen. Sakura. That's enough, Tsunade said, standing up. If you want to be upset, then that's your right, but knocking out my Anbu, along with ranting and raving is not. I don't care. I came to a realization recently. I once told Naruto a lie to stop him from going after Sasuke, but what I said is actually true, Sakura said, putting her red face down. I love you, Naruto Uzumaki, and I want the option to explore that. This time, Naruto joined the others in the room in being wide-eyed and speechless. Tsunade looked at her apprentice, Sakura, and couldn't help but feel sorry for her, even if she knew there was anything she could do. Sakura, I wish there was. I'm not done yet. I'm not the only girl who loves Naruto and would like the chance to have a relationship with him. Sakura said, looking back up, her face still red. I'm speaking off course about Hinata. She's been in love with Naruto since before even the Ninja Academy. How is it fair that she and I are denied the chance like this? There was a gasp and a couple of thuds, and everyone looked over and saw that Hinata had fainted and was laying on the office floor with a dark red face. Tsunade looked over at Naruto to see if he going to say anything, but found he had fallen out the window and was on the roof laying, in shock. Tsunade shook her head at the sight at not one, but two of her ninjas, one a Chunin, the other a recently appointed Jonin, acting like a bunch of school kids. This is not what I need right now, Tsunade said, sitting back down. Sakura, come here a second. Sakura walked over to the desk and leaned in as Tsunade leaned forward. Look, Sakura, none of us are completely happy with the situation, but take a look over at Temari for a moment. She said, in a whisper voice that only Sakura could hear. Tell me what you see and hear right now. Sakura looked over to where Tsunade was looking at. Temari was outside on the roof kneeling next to Naruto, talking to him with a smile. Hard to believe someone like you would faint, Temari said, grinning. You sure are something else, Naruto. Not funny at all, Temari-chan, Naruto responded, looking up at her at a small smirk. Are you going to help up, or just stare at my handsome face all day? Maybe I should leave you here, fox boy, Temari replied, returning the smirk. And to think, after such a wonderful date last night, I was looking forward to our next one. So you're allowing me the honor of taking you out again, what's the catch? He asked, grinning. Nothing ramen related, and we're good. She replied, standing up and holding out her hand to him. Now get up, your friends probably have a lot of questions. And we'll soon have more, no doubt. Sakura turned back to Tsunade. Just because they look happy, doesn't mean anything. Naruto is a nice and really likable guy, Sakura said, putting her hands on the desk. That doesn't mean I'm giving up on him. You're too much like me, so I figured as much already, Tsunade said, folding her hands together. You were there when I told him about this. Well, most of it. But you should know that it would cause problems for both the Leaf and the Sand villages if this arranged marriage were called off. Be that as it may. Naruto deserves happiness, and so do I and Hinata, Sakura said, defiantly. Consequences be damned, Lady Tsunade, I will be pursuing him. And I might even get Hinata too as well. Fine, whatever. Do what you want, just do it later, I have things to discuss still, Tsunade said, holding the bridge of her nose. Why don't you go do your rounds in the hospital since you know this stuff anyway? Fine, but I will keep my word, Sakura said, pulling her hands off the desk. I gotta go do some work at the hospital, but Naruto. Don't think I'm going to give up on you, and my love I have for you. She blew a kiss at him before giving a evil look at Temari, who gave her a equally nasty look back. Don't try anything, Pinky. Temari said, crossing her arms. I think Naruto is a great guy, and if you think I'm just going to sit here and let you take him, you're barking up the wrong tree, honey. Before a few days ago, you hardly knew him that well, Sakura said, walking to the door, as the others moved out of the way. Me and Hinata over there, on the other hand, have known him most of his life, that gives us the edge. If you got a problem, I'll be glad to help you clear it up, Pinky, Temari said, walking towards her. So go on, say something, I dare you. I'd be happy to, Sand bitch, Sakura said, clenching her fists. When and where? Enough you two. Sakura, go do your duties, now, Tsunade said, slamming her fist on her replacement desk, hard enough to leave a dent. And you and I are going to have long discussion about things later, young lady. But what about Temari? She was also saying stuff, Sakura said, pouting. Shut up, billboard brow, just go, Ino said, putting her hands on her hips. You're the one causing problems right now, not her. Ino took Sakura's shoulders and pushed through the door, closing it behind her. Go cool off, Sakura. Ino said, to her, from inside the office. We'll talk later, go ahead, Lady Tsunade. I'm taking Naruto too. Get focused. You can go ahead since I know this stuff already, Temari said, gently taking a hold of Naruto's shoulders. Come on, Naruto, let's go. I'll get you some ramen. Naruto, who was kind of out of it from learning that his longtime crush, Sakura, liked him back, and that Hinata liked him too, nodded absently and let himself be walked away by Temari. She put her arm around him and walked him out the door. Will Naruto be alright? Hinata asked, finally recovering from her faint and fall. And, did Sakura really tell him that I like him? I'm afraid so, Hinata. Tenten said, standing next to her. The cat